How is it going, guys? Malagant here. We're gonna look into a couple of advanced tips in Lost Epoch. These are like the topics that I come up with. In the past week, I was basically like thinking about what I can include in this video. And these are the things that I'm gonna go ahead and include in this video. And I'm really hoping that there's going to be something at the very least for everybody out there. Thank you for watching. And the first thing that we will talk about is going to be the experimental affixes on items. As you know, the experimental affixes are coming from these exiled mages that you summon through echoes. Or I think some dungeons have them too. And using the Glyph of Insight, in fact, you're capable of crafting an experimental affix on any item in the game. So you don't necessarily need to like find the experimental affix as they are. There are going to be two main things that I'm going to mention thanks to this Glyph of Insight, where you can manipulate the outcome a little bit. One thing is going to be about legendaries. As you know, legendaries, to craft them, you need a unique, and then you need a food item for this unique, and then they will, you know, unite and make the legendary. So you will prepare this food item yourself, most likely, after buying from the auction house or finding it, and then you will craft on it, and you will try to manipulate it the way that you like. But the legendary doesn't care about the sealed affix at all. And thanks to the Rune of Research, you can reliably seal an experimental affix on an item. So gloves, belts, and boots are capable of giving you experimental affixes, and you can, when you are making a food for a legendary in these specific item types, you could actually convert one of the prefixes into, you know, the prefix that you would like to get rid of. You can convert it with Glyph of Insight and then seal it with using the Rune of Research, and that way you're going to have like a new open slot for another prefix for you to put there, whatever you want. So that's going to be the first step. The second one is a little bit better. It's about crafting yourself an item like this one, where you would like to, you know, this item wasn't necessarily like an experimental item. I was the one that like chose to put the missing health gain that's ward on top of these gloves, and that was what I wanted to craft on them to begin with. So it is actually not RNG what you're going to be getting. I had T7, T5, T5, and I had a T4 random prefix right over here, and then I used an insight on it. As you can see, if you come to Tank Lab Insight website, and this link is going to be down in the description, you can actually like select your items, or in this case it's gloves, T7 prefix, T4 second prefix, and then we have T5s on the suffixes, and then as you can see, the insight is going to be giving me this one. So if my prefix was T3, it was going to give me dodge. If it was T2, it was going to give me ward gain. So you can actually like know when to insight a prefix to convert it into the experimental affix that you would like to. It's completely not RNG. It is already determined, and you can know what you're going to be getting by looking at this website, and you can then basically, you know, progress your craft towards the way that you would like to craft this as high as possible. And it's a little bit of like risk taking, of course, but it's pretty useful, this website. So those were like the two things that I wanted to mention. One being you know, reliably able to seal and get rid of one of the prefixes, so that like you can put a prefix that you would like to use on the legendary craft, and the other being basically you already know the outcome of the insight if you look at this website. It was very useful for me, and I hope you're going to be finding it useful too. The second thing that we'll talk about is a little bit more abroad. It's about armor. Just want to reiterate, and unless you're aware, but you're probably aware, armor, and I would definitely suggest you to like check this out as well, this explanation over here. Armor is capable of mitigating anything in this game, and that comes down to basically effective HP. So the more armor you have, obviously you'll have more effective HP. It's extremely important on any sort of character that I played so far. Right now, very recently, I made a warlock low life. On that one, I must admit it's a little bit harder to scale my armor, but I would like to if I could. But on my Falconer, for instance, on my Paladin, the first character, which I made it to 100 on hardcore, it was much easier to scale the armor. I actually managed to get to the armor cap. on the Falconer, when I am fighting, I'm reaching about like 52% armor mitigation, I think, which is pretty high, to be honest with you, on a character like this one, where you're also dodging and where you're also glancing, also have good endurance, etc, yada yada. And I'm also taking less damage while I'm moving. So 50% something armor is actually pretty big on a character like this one. And I managed to reach there by basically just taking care of, like, you know, just min-maxing the amount of like armor that I can gain from these like slots, and at the same time remember that you can gain a good bit of flat armor, just like any armor implicit, right? Any item implicit that you're using, they're coming with like an armor value, so the higher the value is the better, because then you're going to be scaling those values with something like this, the Blessing from the Age of Winter, where it's going to be giving you percentage armor. One last addition to this, remember, is strength is also percentage armor. So if I am capable of saying that, like, okay, from the Age of Winter, the best blessing is usually, for me at least, is 55% increased armor. That means that, like, I actually really value 11 strength for my character. I would like you to think about it that way. So strength, even though I have none on this character almost, is very, very good for almost any character out there, assuming you have some like flat armor, because strength is going to be bringing 4 armor by itself all the time, pretty much. Yeah, 4% armor increments. So that was the second thing that I wanted to talk about. The third one is going to be a fast one, actually. Just before jumping into a boss fight, guys, in this game, you can, you know, go into an arena. In this case, like, there's a desert arena over here. You can check the names, obviously, by clicking what is available to you, and then you can select an arena type. In this case, we have a desert arena, and the purpose of this is to basically just able to just snipe a shrine, just like this. So in this one, it was like a stun duration. It's kind of a useless shrine, unfortunately. Oh, too bad, too bad. Let's go one more time. There we go. Enemy's reflex. I swear it is not this unlucky every time. Okay, there we go. Sound increase. So now I can just jump into the boss fight or the Oribus fight, basically, because, like, I'm not only moving faster, but also I'm attacking faster. Same thing can be said for my pet as well, because my pets are gaining the shrine effects too. So you could push this as much as you want. You can get cooldown reduction, you can get crits chance, 100% chance, or you can get movement speed and attack speed. Those are like the biggest ones so far, as far as I can tell, and it takes about like 30 seconds at most for you to find a useful shrine and just jump into the boss, and it makes a world difference when you're fighting at higher corruption. 100%. Well, it might not be too high for you what I'm playing at right now, but it kind of is high for me. About like 400 is pretty deadly for my character right now, so that is where I'm stuck with my Falconer pretty much. But the tip still goes for literally everything. I would imagine in 1000 as well, the attack speed or the cooldown reduction, mana regeneration, or the crit is going to be extremely useful regardless. So next one is a small one as well. I have seen that, like, some people don't know about this. There are 2 searches on your stash bar, in fact. One of them is on the bottom, which is kind of useless. Because this search bar right over here and this quick view section that you can open is much more useful. So over here you can type something like gloves, and it's going to be showing you every single tab that you have a gloves in. Or you can type an acolyte. It's going to show you the stuff that, like, an acolyte could use that are in the you know, in these tabs. So it's going to be actually highlighting the tabs as well. So because, like, the left search is not really, you know, highlighting the tabs, it's just searching within the tab that you have selected, and this one is actually searching through the entire stash and showing you, you know, where that specific thing is. So maybe falconry, as you can see, falconry, anything that has something to do with falconry is right over here in these stash tabs for me. So this is going to be my next tip. Base damage best scaler. So this is like a global rule again in this game. The best way to, like, scale your damage in Last Epoch is, in fact, the very first thing is, like, having a weapon is base damage. Weapons are coming most of the time with neutral type of damage. What that means is that like even if you're dealing fire damage, the weapon doesn't necessarily have that fire damage, it gives you weapon damage kind of. So in this case, look at that, it says 60 bow damage. So it doesn't say 60 bow physical damage or 60 bow fire damage. It's like a neutral type of damage, and whatever your ability is going to be casting or dealing damage with, it will just be that type. So it's the best type of damage actually, because it's flexible. And this type of damage is the best type of damage that you're going to be scaling your character with, because it will add to the base values of the character or to the calculations, and then your multipliers are going to be coming in. There are various sources that you can gain this type of thing, and that is the best thing to increase your damage most of the time. Some idols are capable of giving this to you for throwing, some accessories are capable of giving this to you, some bases are capable of giving this to you. I think for Falcon Master, for instance, for Falconer, I should say, there are a couple of like, I think chest piece and helm implicits that are giving you Falcon base damage. Crazy, absolutely insane. For instance, these gloves over here for me, melee fire damage for you and your minions. That is exactly the flat value that I'm talking about. That's going to be adding at the start. But in this case, it's fire damage, of course. So it would need to be like for fire scaling character. Another example that I can give you with is right over here, Falcon damage per dexterity. This is also a flat value that is adding to my character. So these things are like the highest things, and whether you are like a bow character, a minion character, a melee attack character, or like a spell character, spellcaster, doesn't matter. The spell, even if you're a spellcaster, the flat value that you're going to be gaining is going to be the biggest difference maker for your character, because that will be the damage that your multipliers didn't necessarily touch it, and then when they come in, it's the number that they are gonna increment to is going to be bigger, just like the armor example that I have given earlier. So the next topic is going to be about big monsters being more loot and more XP. In last epoch, most of the time when we're doing monoliths, 90% of the time, guys, it's better to just go next. 90% of the time. But there's some sort of like a value going on in echoes. The value drastically lowers if you're in an arena, for instance. Unfortunately, I really dislike it because there's no loot almost, right? There's just XP. Sometimes there's not even any shrines in there. And then when you find a chest in a normal echo, the value also diminishes because there's no more chests anymore. Sometimes there are no shrines in an echo, which is also a bad echo, so you would like to get out of there. But in this topic, we're going to be talking about the monster type. But remember what I said, 90% of the time, if you don't want to think about anything, just leave, it's fine. Just go next, kind of, after finishing the objective. But there are certain echoes in this game, especially in the late game, thanks to the monster types and how lucky you were when it comes to, finding not only an echo with like good monster type, but also there are lots of density, and on top of that there are some shrines available for you, and it's a big, wide open map. You would actually like to stay in a map like that, because bigger monsters, if you don't believe me, you can just watch your experience bar as you're killing bigger monsters. You can literally see they're experience bags, basically. They're dropping a lot of experience. And on top of it all, they will be reliably giving you exalted items as well. So their magic find or like the item drop rates are like crazy high. And sometimes in some echoes, you can end up finding like so many big monsters that you would rather stay, and those are the ones definitely worth staying in. I can give some like examples when it comes to monster types. Excuse me, there are those like big bugs that are coming out of the ground. There are those like big crabs, massive crabs. There are those like the molars, right, with like the two hands up above like this, with like balls on their hands or something. They hit the floor. And then there's like the ice guys that are like sort of like golems, but like very big, and they like smash the floor or something. Those are the ones that I can come up with right now, but there are more very big monsters. They're the spearmen. I think they are very valuable as well. So those, like all of these things are very, very lucrative when it comes to loot and experience, especially experience. Loot can be a little bit RNG depending on like where you are too. So on top of this topic, I would also like to add look at this bottom left right now, increased experience gain. I don't have any mods right now. This is just a corruption increasing the experience that I gain from all those monsters. So if I'm in a shit echo with small monsters, not only few, but also small, you know, this number is not meaning anything. But when I'm in like a good echo with big monsters, I really want to stay, because like I'm gaining even more from this, because it's again increasing the flat value, increasing the value of those monsters, and then our multipliers are giving us like a bigger value. Now, how do I also increase this? Obviously, apart from the obvious, the corruption is giving you more experience, so you'll be leveling up faster, you'll be gaining favor faster as well for your faction, right? Because favor is coming from the experience that you gain. But also there are these books. So for instance, this one, Enrage and Deadly, are the biggest item rarity and experience boosts that you can find, and they're usually going for like 3 rounds as well. As you can see, even though like it is right next to the beginning of the monolith of the timeline, it's going on for 3 rounds, and it's going to be giving me a 40% multiplier on top of the 342% that we have. So if I do an Enrage, or if I could do an Enrage into a Deadly, into another Enrage, we actually have in our hands 120% multiplier on the 3rd monolith. So perhaps I would like to stay in there, unless the mob type is pretty bad. I really hope this made sense, because I'm not really showing any gameplay. It would kind of take me a long time to end up finding like a good good mono, and I don't really want to like edit this video so much either. So but if you have any questions whatsoever, or if you'd like to add something on top of what I said, please feel free to in the comment section down below, please. So the next one is going to be the level 1 mastery. This is an interesting one actually, but also take the first town portal. I made a note there. In this game, the campaign, for instance, the quest, doesn't necessarily need you to complete one step to start the other one. And this goes on and on. Like selecting your faction, for instance, you really don't need to do anything. You just need to be there. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have to kill that boss. You didn't have to go through that portal, etc. They don't really check these like prerequisites. The same thing goes for the mastery choice. So in this case, I'm a falconer. I started as a rogue. As I start the game, I'm level 1. If somebody invites me to a party and ports me to end of time, right? I will be able to go here and like select my mastery, falconer in that case, at level 1. And this goes for everybody. You can actually do this for any character. You can instantly become a paladin, marksman, warlock, whatever, instantly. I can, you know, hear somebody saying, well, it doesn't really matter because you're going to need to put 20 points on your baseline on your class before going into your mastery. This is true. You won't be able to like get the benefits of these nodes, right? The mastery nodes, but you're going to be gaining here. So if you're going to be a falconer, for instance, right, you're going to be getting a pet instantly at level 1, and you're going to be gaining not only dexterity, but also your falcon is going to be gaining some damage from your dexterity as well. From level 1, you're going to be running around with a bird. So it is a massive difference. This example can be continued by basically taking portals from your friends. So you just create your character, ask for a portal at the end of time from a friend of yours, and that's it. That's done. For like 5 seconds, you now have your mastery, and you're going to be leveling up faster, or perhaps you're going to be enjoying your character a little bit more at the beginning. That was a tip, but one safety reminder here. You cannot turn back from end of time unless you have the first waypoint, because there are no waypoints at the start of the game. The old road is where you start the game. So you would need a portal to the Keeper's Camp as well to turn back to where you were. Please remember that. Don't get yourself stuck in the end of time. So, you could definitely go ahead and like ask more portals from your buddies later on into the game if you're like me and not necessarily completing the entire campaign and jumping into the monoliths as soon as you're done with like both the passive points and the idle slots, right? You go into the monoliths, but you still do need like the bazaar or the observatory waypoint. You can definitely ask for those from your friends as well. Same thing can even be said for the finishing of the game. You can ask for like the upper temple, I think. Let me see, where is that place again? I actually don't remember where the game's finishing part is. I think the lower temple chamber is, it's somewhere around here, right? Yeah, the rooftops into upper temple. I think upper temple is like the last waypoint that you can give, that is building up to Majasa or whatever, the last boss in the chamber of the vessels. So if you would like to complete the last step and gain your like 1 attributes each, you can just ask for a portal from your friend as well to that place. That's an easy fix that way too. The next tip that I will talk about, the item type upgrade. This is actually a video that I made standalone, but I would like to include this over here as well because I really like this tip. I personally use it a lot for myself, and I would really like you to at the very least know about it too. In this game, early game, this is not really applying for like an accomplished character that's like level 85 looking for exalted or legendary or unique items. This applies for like a level 45 that has been rushing through the campaign, right? And has like a bad weapon or has a bad chest piece, bad boots. You get my point. You know what to upgrade, but how do you find it fast? Thanks to how the crafting system works in this game, how it is incredibly deterministic and very simple, and you can put anything you like. The next weapon that you're going to be finding at level 45 is not going to be the weapon that you're already carrying from level 20. It will never be that way. So what you can do is you already can determine what you're going to craft on and instantly find it. What I mean by that is that you go into the loot filter, right, and add a rule over here. Let's say it was a weapon, but this could go ahead and you can check it out for any single type of item that you're carrying. Remember this. So you go into the item type and you go into, let's say that like we're playing with bows. You go into bows. We were playing from like level 13 salvaged bow, okay? And I'm like level 37. I look over here, there's a recurved bow available to me, and the damage difference is already pretty big. You see this? And it's giving me crit chance as well. So I click this basically, confirm it, I make them pink or whatever, right? Confirm. And the next bow that we're going to be finding on the floor that is pink is going to be that base that I wanted to find. And believe it or not, you'll be finding it in the next 5 minutes. So it will guarantee an upgrade in the next 5 minutes thanks to the crafting system. Now I'll grab that item from the floor, I'll just put flat damage on top of it or crit damage on it or attack speed on top of it, and now I have like a massive upgrade just instantly, just like that. And this goes and on and on and on up until like level 85, because in level 85 there's some like ridiculous base upgrades. So for instance, like I can remember from my Sentinel that I was stressing so much about like hitting level 85 because this thing was insane. Like 700 armor and 17% of the armor mitigation also applies to damage over time. Absolutely ridiculous level 86 requirement. So I do know that like at level 86 I'm gonna need to like use one of these items. So as long as like I'm killing a level 86 monster, they have a chance of like dropping this item type to me, and I can make them pink and then grab all those, and then finally I'll get to like craft something decent on it. Boom, instant upgrade. And that is how you basically can manipulate the game into finding an upgrade incredibly quickly in Last Epoch. But this obviously only works on like mediocre items and mediocre characters. When your character is in the late game, you're searching for exalted items, this problem is already disappearing. Yeah. One last thing that I'll talk about is going to be well, actually, like there are two things, but this is more of like a filler, and I'll actually make a small video about this like soon, very soon, but I'll mention it in this video as well. So the filter with the levels as well, this is, I feel like it's underutilized, and I'm gonna give you an example over here. The tip is that this section right over here, when you implement a rule in your loot filter, you can actually like say to the loot filter that like, just make this rule up until level 8, and then, just delete it afterwards. So that's how you do it, basically. So character level dependency until level 8. So how do I use this? For instance, in all of my leveling filters, I usually do this. I hide all items, right? And then I implement the rules that I want to show, right? So I want to see this valuable item, I want to see this valuable idol, etc. But I also say that like up until level 9, just show me everything. Well, up until level 8, sorry. No, it's actually 9 because like it continues showing in level 8 as well. So up until level 9, it's gonna show me everything simply because like if I open a new character without like any legendaries in like leveling gear, I'm going to have naked character, right? So like anything is better than nothing. Instead of like disabling my loot filter all the time and picking up those items, I can just tell to the loot filter that, okay, like up until level 9, you know, just show me everything. Let me grab the things that are like on empty slots and fill them in. And then at level 9, it was just like, you know, disregard this rule from that moment. I actually used this quite a bit on my loot filter. Up until level 40, for instance, I kind of show the meh items as well. They're kind of like whatever, but they're not necessarily emphasized. So I do know that they're like kind of bad items when they drop on the floor. I don't pick them up automatically, I just mouse over them. And then up until level 75, there are decent items that are dropping, and I emphasize them. So if they're emphasized in caps lock on the floor and they're still yellow, I'll be like, okay, so this is an item that can be an upgrade, or can be an upgrade if I craft on it. And you get the idea, and I then hide them at level 75, because after level 75, I'm not going to be caring about affixes anymore. Then comes like basically exalted items or certain bases that I will craft on myself anyways, or maybe it's going to be like a unique item. So it is just underutilized, I think, in most of the filters, like how to implement something with like the level check. It is going to be the point that I want to make on this one. So my leveling filter, just a little bit of a filler right here. I'll also make a standalone video for this. But in this video as well, I wanted to include this. You can find this leveling filter in Last Epoch tools. If you go to like new loot filters over here, and if you type my name, Malagant, in the search bar, you'll be able to click the authors over there, and then you'll be able to see my loot filters and this loot filter right over here. The all characters leveling is a loot filter that I made for myself, but it's also available to you if you would like to use it. What it does is basically it just gets you to the empowered monoliths while showing you some like potential upgrades and potential shatters that you would care about. All you need to do is, after installing it, you basically need to select the stat, your main stat. So if you're a strength character, you just need to click here. That's it. Apart from that, you should probably also know the colors. Yellow colors are potential good rare items. Red color is a potential shatter. Probably a shatter actually. And if you would like to add more affixes, you just click here, you go here, and you add the stuff that you would like to shatter more, so like elemental resistance or maybe movement speed, so that you gain the shards of them. And then teal or turquoise is idols as usual, and the rest of the colors are the same, so it hides everything else. And it's a pretty very simple loot filter. It is not going to be showing too many things. It might have a little bit of downside on weapons, and that's going to be improved as I level more characters. As I update this loot filter for myself further, I'll also be updating it on the lastepochtools.com as well, so you'll be able to download the newer versions as well for every single cycle. But I really needed something like this because I level a lot of characters for the stream, for YouTube, and also I really enjoy checking out new builds in this game. I also really enjoy leveling characters in ARPGs, so yeah. Thank you for watching, YouTube. I really hope this video was useful, and I'm gonna see you next time. Peace out.